back to another Witchy Wednesday. Yeah, trying to think of how to get started on this one. So what I'm going to talk about today is being a highly sensitive person versus being an empath. If you can be both, if they're the same thing, if they're different, all of that. So I have seen some websites that say they're the same. But what I believe and what I've read that makes more sense to me is that they are different. So let me explain what I've read they each are and how they're different. Now, I actually am both, which is quite possible. So a highly sensitive person is someone who's very sensitive to all their surroundings and subtle differences in their surroundings that most people wouldn't pick up on. That's why they're highly sensitive. And that can apply to a lot of things. It can apply to people's emotions. They can walk into the room and feel that there's tension if, some people in the room were just arguing. You meet a highly sensitive person for lunch and say you're really angry because you just had a fight with your husband, but you're trying to just be happy for your lunch with your friend, but your friend can tell that you're angry underneath. They can sense it in you. And we'll probably ask you what's wrong. So a highly sensitive person is highly sensitive to their environment. They're going to feel things. They're going to be easily overstimulated. A highly sensitive person is probably likely to be an introvert because they're probably going to get drained being in group settings just because they're so sensitive. It's not necessarily a guarantee. I am an introvert also, but a highly sensitive person could, not be an introvert also. So they're just really sensitive, and there's a lot of ways that can play out. Yes, emotions is one of them, but that's not the only thing. They can feel more things in their own body. They may be able to hear just a little better. They may be able to smell just a little better. They may be able to taste just a little better, or a little more than other people. Like people who say they can taste the difference in various waters compared to people who say they can't. I'm not saying people who can taste the difference are highly sensitive, but that's an example. Their senses are a little heightened. Not like a superhero. Too bad. But at least one or more of their senses is going to be heightened in addition to the emotional sensing. And their nervous system is a little more sensitive. One of the things I've read a lot about highly sensitive people is they're easily startled. More easily startled than the normal person. And that's definitely been me. So that's a pretty good overview of what a highly sensitive person is. Now, an empath is highly sensitive to energy as well, but the difference is they actually feel other people's emotions. A highly sensitive person may be able to sense someone else's emotions, whether they want them to or not, whether they're hiding them or not, whereas an empath can feel someone else's emotions. If you're with someone who's feeling some deep emotions, you are going to, if you're an empath, you're going to feel those same emotions with them. And, if those emotions are causing them physical pain, you're probably going to feel that too. If you have a friend who's really upset and they're crying with you, and how if you cry a lot, you get like a headache a lot of times, the empath might get a headache too, in addition to feeling all of that pain. So, I'll tell you there are some instances when I'm not sure if what I'm feeling is due to being highly sensitive and I'm just sensing the emotion, or if I'm actually taking on the emotion, which is really the difference. Empaths take on the emotion. So, there are times when I'm not sure which one it is, but I am both. I've known I was a highly sensitive person for a long time. I wasn't 100% sure on being an empath, but I've met a lot of people who have told me I am. And I used to not be sure because I wasn't really sure on a lot of things that happen if it was just me being highly sensitive. For example, I cry at the least little things, and that's gotten more and more as I've gotten older. Like TV commercials can make me cry. Songs often make me cry. My entire life, my favorite songs have been like deeply emotional songs. Songs that I can feel the emotion of the person. And I didn't know if that meant I was highly sensitive and just like sensing the emotion they put into their song, or if I was being an empath and actually taking on the emotion. I didn't know which it was. To be honest, I'm still not 100% sure. There are a lot of songs that can make me cry, though. There's a lot of songs that make me emotional. And I still don't know for certain. So if somebody knows the answer to that one, please let me know. I can't think of an example right now. Let me think. I do tend to like, though my favorite music is always music that I consider emotional and like I can relate to the emotion. I do like some just sort of like catchy dance pop songs, that don't necessarily have the emotion, but they're never gonna be my top favorites. So, and it's not that always listening to the song will make me cry, but it's that if I kind of tune in and really pay attention to it, it will. I will start feeling those feelings. So, let's see. Let's take a fairly popular song. Shawn Mendes, Mercy, okay? If you've heard it. It's basically the lyrics are about this girl sort of just keeps holding on to him and like won't let him break free, but she's also not really what he needs. It's like, I'm begging you for mercy, let me go kind of thing. But like he can't let her go, so he needs her to do it. And when I listen to that song, if I'm just kind of playing some music and it's kind of in the background, I won't really notice it. But if I actually pay attention to that song, I can feel his like desperation, his I can feel it. And I've often wondered back and forth, is that highly sensitive or is it empath? Because to me, empath would be more like he was feeling that emotion when he sang the song, and now I'm taking on that emotion. And that's possible, but I don't know that for certain. The highly sensitive to me would be more like I can kind of feel the situation and see like how someone would feel in that situation. Whereas me actually taking someone's emotions on. So, I don't know. I don't know which it is. I just know it's a thing I do. And it's why my entire life, my favorite songs have always been very emotional songs. At least emotional to me. They're songs I can feel on a deep level. They're songs that I can feel the emotion in that person. Through whatever. Whether it's through me being highly sensitive or being an empath. One or the other. For both types of people, I feel it's important to use shielding techniques and grounding techniques because it's easy to let the stimulations or other people's emotions overwhelm you and kind of become your own and that sort of thing. And you don't really want to do that. So shielding can be very helpful. I do simple shielding. I just imagine a shield, kind of like a bubble around me. I might color it in different colors depending on how I'm feeling that day. I've been really into rose quartz lately for quite a while. This is a piece of raw rose quartz, not tumbled, which is my favorite kind of stone, is raw. And a lot of times I imagine my shield actually this color. And like only letting love in through the shield. So that way no negative emotions will get through. So I just picture myself in like a pink. I'm really good at visualization. I'm a very visual person, so it's really, luckily for me, it's really easy for me to just do a simple visualization. Um, I always, for some reason, envision it in kind of an egg shape too. Um, like every time I do like a guided meditation where they'll tell you, okay, now imagine yourself surrounded in a sphere. I'm like, nope, it's not a sphere, it's an egg shape, because that's how I imagine it. And I don't know why egg shape is what I took on, but it's what I took on. To me, my shield is an egg shape. And you know, there's times I can add layers to it. I'll change up the color when I feel like I need to, and things like that. So I try to remember to do shielding. It's actually more difficult to remember now because I am going on disability. I'm already on a disability leave. And so I don't have a job I'm going to every day. I'm not out and about around people all the time. Most days I'm at home. So the days I do go out, I often don't remember to shield now because I don't have any reason to shield at home, really. It's just me. It's very, very rare that I'm hit with really high emotions at home that aren't my own. It has happened. There have been a few different like tragedies and things that have happened around the world that when I read about it, I can't stop crying. And it's because I'm tapping into the energy other people are feeling. So I don't even have to be with you to feel your energy. I'm working on making these into more like abilities I can use to help people, because right now it's just an ability I have and I shield to you know, to not get overwhelmed by it. But I'm trying to figure out ways I might actually be able to use these abilities to help others, because I really think that's the reason people have these abilities. You know, if you can sense the pain in a friend of yours, you're going to want to help them through that pain, right? You know, even if they didn't tell you anything about it. Things like that. But I don't really have that many people around me that I sense emotion in. I really only have my husband. And I do sense emotions in him that he doesn't always tell me. And that's okay. You don't always tell everyone your emotions. You know, maybe you get a little irritated with someone, but you don't really want to tell them. You just kind of want to let it go. Things like that is probably what I sense from him the most that he doesn't tell me. But that's really it. Like, my entire life, I've never really had friends for very long at a time. I'm not sure why that is. I was an only child. Well, I still am an only child. I was an only child. I'm an only child. I've always been more mature for my age because I grew up around adults. I've always had friends when I was at school, but I moved a lot. I changed schools a lot. And every time I did, you know, you always get those promises of we're going to keep in touch. You know, I'm 36, so when I was doing this stuff, email wasn't a thing, Facebook wasn't a thing. You know, not everybody didn't have a computer in their home. And if they did, they had AOL for the internet, and a dial-up modem that uses the phone line if you're on it. So, that was, I mean, even when I was in high school, we still had AOL, so, yeah. I think DSL started coming out when I was in high school or early 20s, somewhere in there. Anyway, so it wasn't as easy to keep in touch with people. Like, you would literally have to write a physical letter. And nobody really did that consistently, especially kids. I mean, you know, when you're 10 years old and you're BFFs, but one of you's moving away, you're going to say you're going to keep in touch, but you're never actually going to keep in touch as 10-year-olds. I had one friend in 7th grade. Her family was from Brazil, and she moved to Brazil. And, like, they moved during the year back to Brazil. and she and I were going to keep in touch through writing letters, and we did write letters back and forth for a little while. But it was really difficult because it would take like 30 days one way. So like if I wrote her a letter, it would take like 30 days for it to get to her, and then she would write me back, and it would take like 30 days to get to me. So there was like 2 months between each letter like that. So it didn't take long before we stopped that. I think we only wrote back and forth like 3 times. We were 12 years old. Kids just aren't going to put that much time and effort into it. If we had email and Facebook and even MySpace and that kind of stuff when I was, a kid and a teenager, I might have been able to stay in touch with friends more. Phone calls were long distance then. Everybody didn't have long distance. Like, if you needed to call someone in another state, you paid. I got a cell phone when I was 17. And I think cell phones still charged for long distance then too. Or like you had a calling area, and if you were calling somebody outside of that area. Like roaming charges were a thing then. If you were outside of your carrier's area, you would be charged like high amounts of money for using your cell phone. That was a thing for you young people out there. There were no unlimited minutes back then. There was no unlimited texting back then. And data plans didn't exist. Smartphones didn't exist. So, I feel so old talking about this. Anyway, my point is, I never had friends that I kept for a long time. I guess it's because we moved a lot, like I just kind of explained. But even as an adult, once technology made it easier to keep in touch, nobody really keeps in touch. What I have found throughout most of my life, I've changed jobs a lot. And I actually found in my natal chart, one of my houses, it's the house related to career. I'm not really strong on astrology. In fact, I'm fairly weak on my astrology knowledge. But the house that rules career actually indicates that I would change jobs a lot. And that's legit. That's true. I have changed jobs a lot. And every time I've changed, it's been the same situation as, changing schools. We're going to keep in touch, and you don't. You don't. Even my most recent job, I went on my disability leave from my job 6 months ago, and no one from that job has kept in touch with me. Like, there's one person, 2 people? I think there's 2 people that have kept in touch with me. But there were people that I thought we were friends at work, that I would have thought would have contacted me while I was out on my leave, to see how I'm doing, kind of thing. And, alright, my finger's itching. Kind of weird. That I thought would have contacted me to see how I'm doing, and they haven't. And what I have found throughout life is if you change to a point where you're no longer seeing this person on a pretty much daily basis, they basically forget about you. And, it makes sense. It makes logical sense. Unless you've known this person for 10 years. But if you've known them for a year while you've worked at a job, you're not like a huge part of their life at that point. So if you leave, you leave. And, why are they going to put forth the effort to keep in touch with you? So that's happened a lot. But because I'm highly sensitive, it hurts. And I have to remind myself that they aren't doing anything malicious, right? They're just being normal humans. It makes sense to me, but, logic and emotion don't play well together. So, the whole point of all of that was to say... Hang on, how to do a camera thing. Okay, the whole point of that was to say that I don't really have friends around me that... I'm highly sensitive or empathic around, because I'm not really around any friends. I do have some family here. I have my dad and my stepmom. They're probably the ones I see the most. I have a few other family members around. Some of my family can be a bit high strung. And I don't do well with that because of my highly sensitive nature, because of my empathic nature, because of my introverted nature, because of my anxiety that I already have for myself. I don't do well around high-strung people. It makes me very anxious. So I tend to avoid people who get very emotional very easily and get upset very easily and that kind of thing. I tend to avoid those people because it's not good for me mentally. I find it very hard to deal with. It makes me feel anxious and it makes me just want to get out. It makes me want to run. It triggers my fight or flight, and flight is what it triggers. So it can make me very anxious. So I tend to stay away from those types of people. I tend to prefer more calm, laid back, and relaxed people. Because for the most part, that's how I am. And because that works better with my highly sensitive and empathic nature. So, like my dad, very calm and laid back. I think... Now, let me qualify this. I didn't live with my dad growing up because my parents got divorced when I was like 5 or 6. But I have spent a lot of time around my dad, especially as an adult. And I think I've seen him upset like once that I can remember. Like, he's very calm, very laid back person, very easygoing, gets along with everyone, that type of person. So I don't have an issue being around him when it comes to this type of thing. My stepmom is more energetic than my dad, but like, I wouldn't call her calm, but she's very positive. So I don't have an issue being around her either, because I don't have to worry about either one of them, you know, becoming angry or upset or anything like that. Like, I don't think I've ever seen my stepmom angry. And my dad, seriously, I think there might have been like one time, I remember, and it wasn't at me. So, so those are the kind of people I tend to stay around because of my highly sensitive and empathic abilities. My husband tends to be pretty laid back. He can get angry, he can get upset. I mean, I've seen it happen, but it's not something that happens on a daily or even weekly basis, you know. So, I hope that clears up for you a little bit if you had any confusion on the difference between highly sensitive versus empath. Because I believe that they are not the same thing. They're similar, but I think highly sensitive, first of all, has more to do with just emotions. It's highly sensitive in every way, including your 5 senses. One or more of those is going to be more sensitive than others too. For me, I think my smell, my taste, and I think my hearing too are a little more sensitive than normal. My vision isn't. I wear glasses. That's obviously not more sensitive. But yeah. So I hope that cleared up any confusion you've had. I hope it was at least semi-interesting for you. Feel free to leave me a comment below about any other topics you'd like me to cover on Witchy Wednesdays. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for joining me. Please like and subscribe if you have not already. And thank you for being here with me.